Hey guys, it's Pete from Pete for Anxiety here, the mental health podcast, breaking the stigma that mental health is talked about again. Welcome in today's episode. Before we get started today, we need to cover a few things really quick. Let's talk about the Pete for Anxiety Patreon first off. It's only $1, guys. $1. What does $1 get you? $1 gets you into the exclusive episodes I am recording currently. I'm actually focusing on certain different diagnoses of things to show you guys what it actually looks like as it manifests in a person. So why not for $1, judges? Yeah, they said $1. I just checked with them too. See, they said it was okay. It was $1 anyways. Let's also talk about the Oracle Talk Radio Networks app. In case you can't be here live listening to me, watching this video, supporting the show, you can listen to it on the radio app. Why not? It connects us live to our 365 radio. Just go to your app stores and download the Oracle Talk Radio Network. You'll see the big old Oracle Talk Radio Network app logo right on there. Download it. It'll connect you to me, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, to Pete for Anxiety when I'm live doing my thing right here, informing the world and raising mental health awareness. So where are you going to be? 10 a.m. Of course. Come on. We just talked about this. Pay attention for once. Damn. Do y'all know how to listen? And as always, guys, like, follow, and share the YouTube channel. If you guys like what you're seeing, leave some comments, man. We want to know. I want to know if you like what on. You want to be on the show? Let me know. Hit me up at PeteVersusAnxietyPod@gmail.com. And as always, guys, enjoy the show. And by the way, did I mention to like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well? Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure because some of y'all are hard of hearing in the back, May have to yell loud or get a megaphone or something. But, anyways, let's get today's show started. Y'all have a great one. Enjoy. Guys, welcome in. It's 10 a.m. You know what time it is? It's time for Pete versus Anxiety, the mental health podcast, breaking the stigma that mental health is talked about today. Today, my guest is Brian. He is the CEO and founder of World Empowered. I am sorry, Brian. How you doing this morning, brother?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. How are you, my friend?
Doing great. I know this has been a long time coming. We've been talking about doing this for a while now. So it's so great to finally have you here today.
It's nice when a plan finally comes together. Like the old A-team used to say. Finally, after 3 or 4 months of communicating and trying to iron this thing out, we're finally here live. So I'm excited to be here, and I can't wait to hear what we've got to say for people today.
Definitely, Brian. Why don't you tell a little bit more about your organization for everyone so they know exactly what it's all about? I know I've read my information, but it's better coming directly from the founder and the chief empowerment correctly. That's what you like to be called, correct?
Yeah. I mean, we call ourselves a CEO. I'm like, well, I'm an empowerment optimist. So how do I get that out into the world? So I'm the creative empowerment optimist of A World Empowered. We are a 501c3 organization and going on our 7th year now in operation. For the first 5 years, our mission statement was to help people who like helping people to help more people. So we would, through book sales, speaking engagements, and fundraisers, we would raise money and write grants for other nonprofits that were already doing great work. I personally struggled through suicidal ideation and addiction through my teens and early 20s. I actually died in a motorcycle accident, August 8th, 1997. And mental health is something that I'm really, really passionate about. And I'm really frustrated by the reactive nature by which we address mental health in this country. So for the last 2 years, the focus of A World Empowered has been on creating a program to help address mental health within our youth in a preemptive manner rather than a reactive nature. So I'm really excited to talk to you about that and what we're creating. It's finally starting to come together and take shape. The app is being built as we speak. The videos have been recorded. And my dream is that every kid in every grade in every school across this country will start their day with a 10 to 15 minute exercise of intentional breathing, intentional stretching, and intentional energy, again, to try to press the pressure release valve on that mental health thing before it explodes and becomes catastrophic.
Damn, 7 years. That's amazing. And that's awesome to hear. And it's great that you're focusing on the kids, because I always say that we got to teach them younger now, man, because if we don't start now and teach them now, then where are we going to start? Because if the youth, as they get older, they can start learning these new techniques and things like that and be more aware of these things. That way they know, if, hey, if there's a problem, I know where to get some help at, And exactly. That's crazy.
It's like the way we address it now, it's like we break the vase and then try to put it back together. And I'm thinking, why don't we just move the vase to a little safer place?
Right.
How about we do something proactively? Because we see that thing teetering on the shelf. Why don't we put it in a better place so that we don't have to break it and then put it back together? So Yeah, just again trying to be proactive rather than reactive in nature. We look at the mental health field and how do we try to actually address it through legislation, medication, and incarceration.
Yeah,
We try
exactly.
to pass laws in Congress to legislate words and tools and hate. We put kids on serotonin, selective serotonin uptake inhibitors, those SSRIs. When that doesn't work, we put them on a 72-hour hold in a mental health facility, or we don't do anything at all. And then we wait until something really awful happens. So
Yeah, exactly. We wait till something awful happens. There's very key words of those sentence you just said, because that's the problem. We need to stop waiting. And like you said, we need to be more proactive about things, because it's just crazy. Because it's funny you say that, though, that unfortunately a friend of the show, Ken, he lost his niece the other day to suicide. She ended up taking her life. Unfortunately, I'm sorry,
oh
Amanda,
my
that's
God,
the choice, man. Yeah.
my
Yeah.
heart goes out to the family. I'm sorry for their
Definitely.
loss.
Definitely. Much love to you, Ken. Like Brian said, the same thing, man. He sent in his best to you as well, brother. And it's like crazy because she was only in her 20s, man. It's like,
Mm.
damn, like 20 years old, so young, so I've been gone already. And it's like, it's crazy that people, make those decisions so early on, and I had looked at it before with someone else on another episode that men are more likely than women to commit suicide. And it's crazy. Like the numbers just keep coming more staggering. And then, when is it time to finally do something? All these great, it's great. They want to do all these things for us in legislation, but is it really helping us? No, because we're still having this problem.
It's ever increasing. And the fact of the matter is, nothing they have done to this point has actually even put a dent in it. There,
Exactly.
you would think that after all this time and all this money and all these programs and all this energy that we've been putting into it for the last couple decades, that we would start to see some of those numbers get back to some sort of equilibrium, right? At least start to decrease a little bit. But year over year, every single time, it's getting worse. From my understanding, men are more likely to attempt and women are more likely to achieve. So
Actually, it's the reverse around, Brian.
yeah,
It's actually, according if you go
you're right. You're
perplexity,
right. Right. Women are more likely to attempt and men are more likely to
you
achieve.
got it. Yeah, exactly. And
Men,
isn't that scary though
men,
as a man to say that though? Think about it, Brian. Isn't that crazy? Because you've been there, I've been there, several other people have been there, but we're more likely to succeed, but women are more likely to tell people that, hey, I tried it. Guys don't talk about it. And that's the thing. As men, we're not supposed to talk about these kind of things because we're supposed to be the macho man. We can't talk about these things because we have to be super alphas. We can't admit we have feelings. We're wrong. We can't do those things.
yeah, it's a very taboo subject, and you know we know very well that fungus grows in the dark. And when conversations like you and I are having today, trying to break the stigma, trying to shine a light on some of the struggles that most of us are going through. I
Yeah.
think it was Thoreau that wrote, people lead lives of quiet desperation. We don't always know what's going on in the hearts and minds of men. Most of us, I think if you're over the age of 20, we've all had those dark nights and we've all had those thoughts creep in where, today is a total crap suck and it's as good as it's ever going to get. So I might as well, end it right now. And, how to convince somebody that tomorrow can be better, how to convince somebody that if they start looking and start trying to hone and polish themselves and become the best version of themselves, that 15 years from now, that might actually pay off and it's going to be worth it in the end. That the struggle and the pain that we're facing today, it will eventually go away and we will have a community of people that love and adore and appreciate and value the real us if we let that light shine. It's a tough undertaking to convince somebody that's sitting in that darkness that it's worth it and it will get better. But having conversations like we're having today, I think are really important.
Yeah, and the fact that you've been there and you know the thoughts that go on, I think it's a lot better too for people because they can always turn around and say, "Well, what do you know about it?" Well, matter of fact, I've been there. I know what it's like. I've looked over the ledge and thought about it once or twice. I've teetered and played teeter totter on there. And it's like then it's different for people because it's like, oh wait, hold on, he's been there. He knows what's going on. Versus somebody that doesn't have any single clue what's going on. It's just like, oh, well, let's just throw medication at this. Let's throw medication at that. And I hate when people say that too, because when you ask them about therapy, a lot of them are like, well, I don't want to talk about my feelings. I'm like, you don't have to. Just go in there and talk and just talk to someone. Someone that understands. They may understand what's triggering you to go get so upset. And I was talking to somebody recently about that. And she said that her better half, he struggles a lot of rage issues and things like that. And I was like, maybe he needs to talk to somebody. And when her response was that he goes, well, I don't want to talk about my feelings. No one asked you to talk about your feelings. Just talk to somebody, man. All you got to just talk to them. Whenever you choose to open up from there, that's up to you. But at least give it a shot and see what happens, because at least this person understands what your thought process is, and maybe they can figure out what exactly is triggering you to have these feelings that are causing you to be so raged and everything before it gets worse. Because I was like, I've been there. I've gotten to that other side of the one where I was very verbally abusive towards people, things like that, and I didn't get anything under control, and I lost a lot of friends that way. And eventually, I finally started getting some help, which I'm in therapy now, but no medication. Let me tell you, hadn't even been even a topic to even discuss about it. Maybe I tried anxiety meds. They're terrible. I can't do them. They make your heart race and things like that. It's horrible. And I think that, people need to understand there's way more things to do out there than just traditional therapy these days. Whether it be sound therapy, whether it be, hypnosis, whether it be, all these other things that are out there, holistic, whatever your niche is, whatever you feel like you want to do and whatever you believe in, you can do all those things now. And people offer that stuff. And the great thing with the show is that it brings people like yourself on here trying to make a difference, and other people that do other things like that. And now they know where to find these resources.
Yeah, I think one of the first and most important things is that people need to realize that they want to get better. Like, we can't force anybody to change. The old aphorism, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. First, we have to admit that we want to be better, that we can be better, and then to seek out the tools and the modalities that can actually facilitate that growth. I'm curious what you think, why it is it's so hard for people to actually have the conversations. When you talk to somebody like your friend about her husband, and they're like, "Well, I don't want to talk about my feelings." That one of the quotes that comes to my mind is that what we resist persists. And the way I look at mental health, particularly the majority of what we're facing in this country today, we have to find a way to press that pressure release valve. When you look at a water heater or an air compressor or something like that, every single one of them has this little pressure release valve. When that thing starts to get so tight and it's on the verge of exploding and becoming catastrophic, that little pressure release valve will flip, and it'll just go and let some of that out. Having a conversation with somebody that you trust about what you're going through and what you're actually feeling is that pressure release valve. It might not actually fix the problem, but it gives you an opportunity to take a breath before that thing explodes. And I'm curious what you think it is that prevents people from actually wanting to share and have those conversations.
I think it's the fact that people feel embarrassed, though, if you think about it, okay? Like, you tell somebody what you're really thinking. Hey, I'm having these thoughts. What is the first thought people come up to? Oh, well, you're crazy. No, it's not that you're crazy. Just because you're having your thoughts, it's okay not to be okay, is what I tell a lot of people. Or I like to ask people, instead of how are you doing, hey, how's your mental health? And a lot of people stop and they think about what you just said to them and like, hey, whoa, how's everything going here? Whoa, hold on. He just asked how I'm doing and things like that. But from what I've heard is a lot of people get upset because they don't want to share their feelings. It's like, if you feel like if you're male, it's because you're feeling vulnerable, because they're so stuck in that old chaotic, the old archaic way of, oh, well, we have to be men, we can't have feelings, we have to put everything, keep stuffing it in, and they keep packing it down like you're basically comparing it to, and then just it shoots off. But then things like that, and that's the number thing I hear a lot of people say is, well, I don't want to talk about my feelings. Well, I don't know why you're worried about talking about your feelings. It doesn't make you vulnerable at all. It doesn't make you any less of a man. Understanding your feelings, it doesn't make you less of a person. It's just you better understand how to control your emotions, because if not, like Brian said, you're just going to explode, and then what's going to happen next, we don't know. Like, you could turn violent, you could turn very verbally abusive like I did, you could turn just very toxic as well, and what doesn't help is society, because a lot of people like to post their thoughts online. Then you get these people start attacking people, saying, oh, well, you're a wuss, or you're a sissy, or you're weak because you're talking about your feelings. That makes you a female. And no, it doesn't. It just makes you human. Like, we all have feelings.
Yeah, and then there's the element of being afraid of being kicked out of the cave too.
That too. That's true too.
So there's the ego element of, we're afraid of how people will perceive us, and we want to present this facade of strength and courage, and we've got it all together. And simultaneously, we're afraid that if we share with somebody, I was having a tough time last night, Pete. I literally sat on the edge of my bed at 2 a.m. with the gun in my hand, thinking about it again. Like, I thought I was through this shit, and I can't believe that, these thoughts are creeping in, and we're afraid that their first thought will be is, oh, I can't be around this person. This person's scary.
Well, you know
rather,
what? If
rather than
now that
being
you
able
bring
to
that
hold
part up,
space and hear it.
now that you bring that part up, not to cut you off, Brian, you make a perfect example. So when you tell somebody that, they instantly thoughts are, oh shit, what is going on at this point? It just went from 0 to 100, and they don't know what to say in that moment. And a lot of times, you don't say anything; you just listen. Just let that person talk to you, and just let them know everything's okay and things like that. I mean, because when you're at that edge, man, it's tough because you just have those thoughts racing through your head, and sometimes just releasing them and talking to somebody and letting them know what you're thinking in the moment, and the other person not knowing what to say. It's okay not to know what to say, guys. Sometimes it's better to say nothing and just let them just vent to you. Just let them start talking and say, hey, I'm listening, and make sure you're actively listening. Don't just sit there and ignore them and say nothing. Okay, well, I'm, listen, respond like, okay, well, I hear your feelings, just keep talking to them. Let them know that you're still there. I'm still listening. You're being heard. Because if not, you don't know what the next thing is going to happen. And that's unfortunately the situation, that happens for a lot of people. Is they don't know what to do. They get into that moment and they freeze and they get that deer in headlights where they're like, oh shit, he's serious. He's got a gun in his hand, ready to go. He's ready. What do I do? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. And it's the whole flight, fight, or freeze thing. You tell somebody something like that and they freeze up because they don't know what to do, what to say, how to react to it. And I'm not a therapist. That this is
No.
just through my experience. Nothing anybody could have ever said would have actually probably changed how I felt. I don't think when I was literally sitting on the edge of the precipice. I don't know if there's anything anybody could have said other than I love you and I'm here for you. And my heart will break if you do something like that.
Yeah.
Please don't do that to me.
Yeah. I agree, man. I agree because I think those words are very powerful. And people I don't think understand that just saying just those things get to you too. And it's just crazy, man. When you're in that state of mind, like you're just looking at that edge teeter tottering, man. It's hard. It really is hard.
Another little advice I'd like to offer people: if anybody knows somebody that's struggling right now, or they're concerned that somebody's struggling, please don't just leave it at reach out to me. Please just give me a call or reach out to me next time, because when somebody's in that place and they're teetering on that precipice, no, we're never going to reach out. We don't want to be a burden. We don't want to cry on the phone. And if somebody were prone to reaching out, they probably wouldn't be in that place to begin with. So we need to be proactive. When we know somebody's struggling and they're having these thoughts go through their head, we need to be proactive and reach out to them on a daily or weekly basis, just to drop a note and say, hey, I'm thinking about you. I love you. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Let's make a plan to get together and go do something fun, and leave it at that. You don't have to make it about, are you okay? What's going on today, or anything like that. Just reaching out and dropping a note saying, I'm thinking about you. I love you. And I look forward to seeing you again. Let's make a plan to do something fun. Let's look at our calendars and see if we can go play pool or go watch a game or something like that. I miss you. And just leave it at that. Let the person know, plant a seed or water one. Let them know that somebody out there cares about them and they'll be missed. And honestly, the fear of shaming and placing that pain on the survivors is probably the only thing that kept me here. Because there were so many times where I've made a plan, and I was sitting there ready to take it out, to act on that plan. And then the idea of what my mom and dad or friends would have to feel if I carried through was the only thing that talked me off the ledge. So when you plant that seed and you reach out and say, hey, I love you. I care about you. I want to see you. I'm just thinking about you. Let's make a plan to do something fun. That's watering that seed of, if I go through with this, how are the people that are left behind going to feel? What am I going to do? I already feel like a piece of crap. Am I going to really go through with this and hurt the only people that actually still care about me? And that might be the only thing that keeps them from going through with it in the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Because then you know that you're going to leave them with all that burden, and they're going to be left with what if, what was he thinking? And you're not wrong. Like me and the gentleman Ken I mentioned earlier. He lost his niece. Another one in our comment section here, Feral Dad. He's actually named Matt. He and I check in every day with each other. I check in and ask him, "Hey man, how you doing today?" And he'll give me a score 1 to 10 how he's feeling that day. But at least he communicates, you know. And if I don't hear from him, I know his next of kin. So if I need, I'll reach out to them, be like, "Yo, I haven't heard from him. How's he doing today?" And I'm constantly checking in with people. It's every day we're all checking in with each other. It's like a simple text, "Hey, how you doing today?" You know, things like that, or simple funny meme or something like that. You know, at some point we make some kind of contact. And if one of us don't hear from one another, it's like, whoa, hold up, something's wrong here. I haven't heard from you. You okay? Everything are good? You know, and things like that. You know, and you're right. Don't ask people if they're okay constantly, because if you keep pushing, you're going to push them away. They're going to be like, yeah, I don't want to talk to that person because I don't want to be asked every 2 minutes how I'm doing. You know, it's different if you and these like me and Ken have a different rapport. It's like Ken just says, "Hey man, how you doing today?" Just, "Hey, how you doing?" Just general, "How you doing?" All that kind of stuff and things like that. Matt will check in and say, "Hey man, how's your mental health?" Gives me a score, you know, how he's feeling that day, you know, and things like that. And I think that that's what people need to understand is that when they start withdrawing from things and you start noticing some little odd behaviors, check in with them, like you said, call them, say, "Hey, how you doing?" More than just, you know, once a week, just call them. Like if you need to call them, like, oh, text them, "Hey, how you doing? Are you busy? Want to have a conversation? Can you talk?" And just call and talk to them, see how they're doing, check on them, how their day is going, you know, and things like that. And it's hard though when it comes to stuff like that, especially when you lose people too, when people die and things like that. It's like, what do you say to people? It's like there's not much you can say, honestly, you know. And then I like to quote Jim Ross, the wrestling announcer guy. He had made a comment on a podcast, and he said that someone came up to him and did the one thing you probably shouldn't do. Start telling other people about your other problems. He's like, "Well, that's great. I don't give a fuck about your problems. I just lost my wife. What do I care about your issues?" And he's not wrong. It's like, why throw more shit on top of him? You know, when he's already dealing a loss of his wife, you know, and he's like, "I don't want to hear all that." He's like, just say, "Hey, I'm sorry. If you need something, I'll be here," you know. And in that situation, that's how Jim felt. But I agree with him. It's like, you know, I don't want to hear about all those problems. Just call and ask me how I'm doing and let me talk to you. If I start venting to you, just let me go. Just let the cork unfly. Because sometimes you just call and ask him, "Hey, listen, how's it going? What you up to? Hey, let's do something." Like you said, plan something. "Hey, let's go do something. You want to go check out a movie? You want to go grab a drink sometime? Let's do something." You know, make sure they know that you know they're there, because a lot of times that's what it is, that people feel like they're not being heard, or they don't want to be a burden, like you said. You know, and it's different from me just saying it. Now that you're saying it, other people are saying it. The voice, the stronger the message comes out, is that, hey guys, you know, these are the things that people are repeatedly saying, is that they're a burden, feel like you don't see them. Hey, you don't even check in on them, and you don't even, like, you know, it's been weeks since you heard from them. Don't you think, you know, checking in once in a while is still crazy? Like, you know, a simple text, man. Now with technology, we can reach everywhere. Social media post, text, "Hey, how you doing? What's going on?" A simple phone call, leave a message. "Hey, man, I'm thinking about you. How you doing?" Just even that too, that alone would be helpful for them too. To be like, "Hey, man, somebody thinking about me." Now they got to think about, okay, well, if I make this decision, so and so is going to be upset, or Ken's going to be upset, or Matt's going to be upset because I'm not going to be there to check in. I'm going to be like, "Hey, what's up with him? Where's Pete? I haven't heard from him. Hey, man, what's going on?" You know, and things like that.
100%. And you know what else is really powerful, Pete? Asking somebody for their help. When you know somebody's struggling,
Hmm.
even if you have to manufacture it, "Hey, I need help moving," or whatever. I lost a dear friend of mine in 2024, and he ran a nonprofit. He was one of these global leaders, just
Yeah.
this incredible visionary of what was possible for the human potential. And he was always out there asking other people for help, and it's really hard trying to gather a community to, I mean, one of the things that he wanted to take, he wanted to change the global currency and the economy of the world. Like, he had a grand vision of what was possible and what he wanted to do with society, and he was always putting these communities together and building the support and getting people to work with him. He was always out there asking people for help, but I never once asked him for help.
Yeah.
I run a nonprofit. I know deep in my heart that if I had called him the week before he took his life and said, "I'm really struggling trying to get my board on board and trying to run this organization, and I have this grand vision of what I'm trying to create with this Aw Kids program, and you're really great at bringing community together. Do you think you could help me out?" If I had reached out and asked him for support, it would have helped him know that he had value and that he can help other people further their lives. and that somebody needed him for something rather than him always needing other people for something. And I truly believe that if I had the wherewithal to reach out and ask him for help with my organization, what I was trying to do, that probably could have had a really lasting, impactful impression, and probably potentially had an opportunity to prevent what he ended up ultimately carrying out.
Yeah.
Ask them if they can help you with something. Say, I need help moving. I need help with this project. Whatever. Ask somebody that you know is struggling for their help, because it helps them feel like they have value and there's something positive that they can contribute.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about your friend. First off, man, that's always bad to hear when somebody decides to make that decision. And that's crazy, though. You know what that means? That leads to that fact that you don't know what anybody's thinking. Think about it. You said he was looking to change the world, had everything either way going, and he had these thoughts going through his head, which is funny because I had a guest named Alex that was on 2 weeks ago, and Alex had it all, man. He was good looking, had the MLB contract he almost wanted, and things like that. But Alex had the same thoughts. He attempted 5 or 6 times to take his life, and at that point, he was just like, and it was like crazy because if you go based on what society says, it's like, oh no, bro, Alex looks good. He's got everything he wants. He's got the MLB contract lined up almost. He's got the scout in him and everything. This is his dream to play baseball, mind you. He was just huge baseball guy, everything else. But no one realized how bad he was struggling. And just like your friend, nobody knew. No one had even a single idea that that's what he was going to do until you found out, and that's left with, well, what if I called him and asked him for some help, or help or whatever, you know what I mean? Because we don't know what people are thinking at this point. And I think that's the sad part of it all, is that they feel like that's the decision they've got. And it's hard, man. It's hard, especially that phone call. I bet it had to be devastating for you. Yeah.
Words can't describe it.
Yeah, I agree,
especially, man. In society today, everybody complains about everything all of the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And 1 or 2% of society actually goes out and tries to do something about it. And like I said, this person was an absolute visionary. He ran his nonprofit for, I think, 25 years. He worked so hard all the time. And
I know, man. I'm sorry. I know it's hard. It is, man. I'm so sorry. Like I said, I'm so happy that you're talking about it with us, though, Brian. I really do appreciate it.
There just aren't a lot of people out there that actually put their time, energy, and effort into making a difference in the world. And when we lose one of those, it's really exceptionally difficult. And to know that if I had done something different, that it might have had a positive impact, that's really hard to wrestle with. And I know it's something that he struggled with for his entire life. I know that he was bipolar and had legitimate chemical, physiological, mental health challenges, and he was off his meds when it happened. And I do trust in the divinity of the universe and believe that everything happens the way that it's supposed to. And he's probably up there wherever we go after the end, and he's probably able to affect more change from where he's at now than he ever could have here on this plane. But it's tough when we lose a bright, shining light like that. And whether it's a 20-year-old beautiful girl like your friend's niece, or somebody like my friend, it's really hard. And again, just to know that there's something that we can do. I'm curious, do you know anything about her story? Because our youth are facing.
I just know that from what he told me, Ken had told me that his niece and the boyfriend had got into it had a real bad argument. She was getting ready to buy a house too. 20 years old, getting ready to buy a house.
They had this market.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. 20 years old, she's ready to buy a house. Apparently, the boyfriend and her had a disagreement the night before, and then he got a phone call the other day, and he's like, "Damn, that's not the phone call I expected to get." And no one does when that happens. He didn't really share much other story than that, but he did say her name was Amanda. And I'm so sorry to hear that, though. She's decided that it's such a young age too.
So when I go into schools and I talk to kids, one of the analogies that I use is the jigsaw puzzle. Have you ever put together a jigsaw puzzle?
Mm-hmm.
Like you open up that box of 1,500 pieces. What's the first thing that you do, Pete?
Work on the corners.
Yes and no. So that's actually the second step. The first thing we do is we dump that box out, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, okay. I forgot
and
to step. Yeah.
It's chaotic and it's a flipping mess.
Yeah.
And the first thing we do is we start flipping over the pieces so they're all face side up.
Yeah.
And then we start looking at, okay, this must be an edge, a border piece. This must be a corner piece. And our job in life is to flip over those pieces of the puzzle and start to figure out which pieces fit where. And the more that we do that, the clearer the image becomes.
Yeah.
In life, we don't get a box with a picture on the lid saying, oh, this is what it's supposed to look like. We dump that thing out, and life puts crappy situations on us. You know, we all go through trauma and have experiences that are unpleasant. That's like flipping over a piece of the puzzle and be like, wow, this freaking sucks.
Yeah.
This is an ugly ass jagged piece, and I don't like this at all. If we just throw that piece of the puzzle away and we spend the next 20 years of our life, you know, we flip over a piece, try to put it somewhere, throw that away, flip over a piece, try to throw that one away. We come to a piece that we don't like. At the end of it, we're going to have a puzzle with a whole bunch of holes in it, and the picture is going to look like crap. We have no idea what it's supposed to be. Our job is to flip over the piece of the puzzle, and if we come to one that's ugly and jagged and painful, and we don't like that piece of the puzzle, to realize that someday, I don't know how, I don't know when, but someday that piece is going to be a really, really, really important piece.
Yeah.
The complete picture of that puzzle. And if I just throw it away and I don't look for where it fits and how it's supposed to make my life better, then at the end of it, it's going to be incomplete. Yeah. So have you ever read or heard of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich?
I've heard of it. I haven't read it though.
Dude, it's one of the best books of all time. Napoleon Hill spent 20 years of his life working for free, interviewing the most rich and successful people of his time. And what he found unilaterally is that within every setback or difficulty lies a seed of equal or greater success. Every single thing that happens to us, whether it's good or bad, particularly the bad, is meant to level up. It's a seed of an equal or greater success. It's meant to give us the wisdom or the compassion or the awareness or some sort of education to help move us further up the ladder. It's a seed of equal or greater success. And when we have those crappy days, we lose a loved one, we wreck a motorcycle, we have an addiction, when we have those crummy experiences, those don't happen to us because of punishment or retribution. Those happen to us to level up. They happen to us to be a seed of equal or greater success. And to utilize that, to look at that experience, no matter how bad it is, and sit back with curiosity and say, Jesus, this sucks.
Mm-hmm.
This is an awful, ugly, jagged piece of this puzzle. I wonder how this is going to fit.
Yeah.
I wonder how this experience is supposed to help me grow. What am I supposed to learn from this? Because if we don't learn from the experience, it's going to come back again, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've had this in your life, but you know, you do something and you ignore it. You do something and you ignore it, it gets bigger. You do something again, you ignore it, it gets bigger. And sooner or later, the universe comes up with a 2x4 and just whack, hits you across the side of the head. That was my motorcycle accident. August 8th, 1997, I broadsided a pickup truck doing 85 miles an hour.
Jesus.
I had compound fractures of both of my femurs and 6 broken ribs. I severed my femoral artery. I died in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. My heart stopped in the ER when they were trying to put me back together like Humpty Dumpty. And then again, on the third day, my lungs filled up with blood and bone marrow. And I was so weak when they went to intubate me, my heart stopped again for the third time. That was a pretty shitty day.
Jesus.
That was one of those pieces of the puzzle that you'd be like, I would rather throw this one away.
Yeah, but look at where you're now, though. After all that, you're still here. You're making a difference for the kids and everything like that. And you know, you're making so much different things happen, man.
There's no logical explanation how I survived that accident. I hit that truck so hard that I moved him 4 feet and blew out 2 of his tires. Like I said, when my right femur was exiting my quad, it severed my femoral artery.
Oh, I'm feeling it, man. Oh,
I wasn't wearing a helmet. I flew 20 feet over the hood of the car and landed like this on my forearms. There's no logical explanation why I survived. The lady right behind the guy that I hit was an EMT on her day off.
God was on your side that day, man. That's the only way to explain it. Nothing but an act of God saved you that day, because that woman was in the right place at the right time for when that accident happened. Had she not been there and knew what to do, I tell you, man, I'm not like big on just like forcing religion on people, but I feel like God works in mysterious ways, and that's the only way to explain that. Because I had a similar incident, nothing close to yours, God forbid, nothing close, because that was just painful, man. but it had to be God that put her in the right place at the right time for you and said, "Hey, man, Brian, you got more things to do, man. We got to get you back going." And luckily, she was there to save you, man, or get you going at least till the ambulance got there, because that's just crazy, man.
Yeah, she took off my belt, used it as a tourniquet, and from the time the ambulance picked me up to the time I got to the hospital, I got 6 units of blood transfused. I weigh 165 pounds. That was pretty much every drop that I had was replenished.
Jesus.
There's no logical explanation that I survived. And remember, I was suicidal before this. I thought I was a worthless piece of shit and I wanted to go.
Yeah.
I felt like the world would be a better place without me in it. So that planted the seed in my mind that whatever you want to call it, the universe, God,
no, I get
it doesn't matter. Something wanted me here more than I wanted to be here.
Yeah.
It planted the seed in my brain that there was some reason why I was here.
Yeah.
There are too many coincidences. Like if I had literally been 2 seconds earlier or 1 second later, the outcome would have been completely different.
Yeah.
So it planted the seed in my brain that there was some reason why I was here, and something wanted me here more than I wanted to be here.
Yeah.
And that's the truth for each and every one of us, whether we go through a motorcycle accident or we slip on the ice in the freaking street. Like, we've all had those little bifurcation moments, those sliding door moments where, you know, we're driving home at 3 o'clock in the morning, and for whatever reason, we don't even know why, we kind of just press on the brakes a little bit, and then whew, a car runs a red light right in front of us. We're like, whoa, what was that all about? Like, we've all had these little moments where we've narrowly averted catastrophe.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be something as bad as an actual motorcycle accident. But like your experience, tell me about that. What happened with you?
I was in South Dallas, driving home, and I was behind the wheel of the car. And, you know, they have those the little, we have these HOV lanes where they let extra, double 2 people in the car at least be in them. Okay. Someone had come over to my lane. I hit the wall, spun across 4 lanes of traffic. Mind you, there's a whole bunch of traffic. Didn't hit a single car. I went over to the shoulder, and all you saw the car here to go like that. And I luckily made it. And the guy that stopped and checked on me, he said, "Holy shit, man." He goes, "How are you okay?" I came up unscathed completely. Unscathed completely. And this is before I even started this whole podcast. You know, and then things like that. It was just like, you know, it was like there's nothing short of an act of God or something in the universe that did it to me, that saved me, because there is no way in hell I would have made it across 4 lanes of 4 lanes of full traffic and not hit a single car and caused a full-on car pileup after that. And it was the craziest experience ever. And it shook me for a little bit, because I was like, you know, I didn't even want to drive a car for a little bit because it just worried me so much, because I was like, I just had that vision. And when I go on that part of there, I was just like, I get so clench up. I clench up in the seat because usually my wife's driving a lot of times. And I just said I was going to drive, you know, and she was tired. So she was asleep. So she woke up to, oh shit. That's all she heard, bro, as it happened. And we just started spinning like a top. And we had, you know, a little one in the back too. And luckily nothing happened to anybody. And you know, and to me, that was just like, wow, damn, dude. It's just like, it was an eye-opening experience, because it's like, you know, and after all that stuff, I got a car. I was freaking out. My wife said, "You're okay." That's all that matters at this point. The car is a car. You can go get cars. You can get another car. Cars can replace, but you can't be replaced. It's the thing, you know. It's like, you got to remember that. And she said that to me, and I was just like, at the moment, I wasn't thinking. I was just freaking out, because I'm thinking, okay, well, is she okay? Is the little one okay? And I was shook up, because, you know, I just went for a tilt-the-world spin around the whole thing. Didn't hit a single person, and then this guy runs up to me, freaking out, going, "Oh God, dude, are you okay?" He goes, "How the hell did you get?" He's like, "Nothing short of an act of God should have saved you." I'm like, "Yeah, because Jesus took the wheel." I'll tell everybody, Jesus took the wheel. As much as everybody thinks that's a joke, I am dead serious here. That's the only way you can explain it to me, because, like, you know, I don't even know how I survived that thing, honestly, because if you think about it, I went across 1 lane to across all those lanes, all that traffic, and luckily no one hit me and I didn't hit anybody. You know, nothing short of something taking the wheel for me to make it through all that, because that was the crazy experience ever.
At 70, 75 miles an hour, and then you hit the ditch and you didn't roll, you know, talk about divine intervention, right? And one of the things that I talk about when I talk to the kids, it's like, God has the keys to the lightning cabinet, Pete. When your time is up, man, he don't need your help to self-delete.
Exactly.
If there weren't something important that you were meant to do, then God would just push that button and it'd be done. He doesn't need our help. We don't need to self-delete to ease God's plate, to take a task off of his list, or whatever, again, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, exactly.
So as long as we're here and air fills our lungs, there's something that we are meant to do. There's a gift that only we can bring to the world. And our job is to flip over pieces of the puzzle, try to figure out where those things fit, and discover what our gift is and how we want to bring it to the world. And everybody wants to know that they are valued and they matter and they can make a difference. And we try to tell people, yeah, you are intrinsically loved. You're valued for who you are. If we're being completely honest, I'll just speak to myself. That's a lie.
Yeah.
Because when I was 20, 21, 22 years old, I was a piece of crap.
Me too.
I was a meth addict. I stole. I lied. I started fights with anybody that would look at me cross. I was one of the drags of society. I was not loved for who I was. I did not have intrinsic value. I was a total piece of crap. And I had to decide to become somebody that was worth living. That was a choice. And we can hone and polish our character and become that kind of person. We have to, if we're looking at ourselves and we say, oh, I'm a piece of crap, the world would be better off without me in it. Change it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That might be true. That honestly, that might actually be true for some people listening right now, probably not listening to our podcast, but somebody listening to this show is unlikely. But there might be somebody out there that might not be doing much for society, but they can change. We can all decide who we want to be. We can all make ourselves valuable. We can all figure out what our gift is, flip over that piece of the puzzle and figure out how to deliver it to the world. We can make ourselves into somebody that's worthy of being here, that's somebody that's worthy of being loved. It's a process and a decision.
Yeah, I agree, man. And I agree with you, man. I was not the most pleasant person before I did this. I when I started doing this, someone had a question for you real fast. He says, is your pod a world empowered? Is what Farrell's family's wondering.
Yeah, thank you for the question. My nonprofit is called A World Empowered. So if you go to aworldempowered.org, you can find my nonprofit. My podcast is Oddcast the Podcast. So A.W.E ''DCAST. Oddcast. So it stands for A World of Empowered Dialogues. I'm not as engaged as Pete is. I usually only have 1 or 2 podcasts a month. And I think it's been probably 6 weeks since I did my last one. But if you go to the website, you can find out about the Aw Kids program that we're creating and a little bit.
Yeah, that's what really prompted our conversation. Now that he says that is exactly what we were talking about. This, me and Brian had talked about this like last year. We were talking about getting together, and I know he had a bunch of things going on and stuff like that. And I was like, man, I just kept feeling like I need to get him on here. And I'm glad I brought you on here, honestly, man, because had I known what you were about to say today, I was just like, damn, blew me away, man. It's great. The great thing with the show, too, since we've talked last, by the way, this show is now officially booked to September 15th, which is a full year for this whole show being even in existence and the whole network of Oracle that I'm a part of. We are officially booked to September 15th, at least at 10 a.m. We still have another spot up at 3. I'm working on getting somebody for that one, too. But to sit here and tell you where I'm at, I deal with imposter syndrome a lot of times.
We all do.
You know what I mean? And it's real bad for me at times because I'm just still taken away by how powerful it is. People come on here and talk to me about their stories and tell me things, and all I'm doing is listening, giving people a voice to be heard, like people like yourself, sharing different stories, just random things. And a lot of times what I tell everybody, Brian, is that if your story touches one person, you've done enough. And I mean, I guarantee someone's going to hear this and be like, damn, wow. It's all the things you say, and trust me, I get viewers and listeners from all the way as far as Australia right now that I know of that I've seen because I have an audio side that I take this audio, the video side, put it on the audio side because everybody to digest your podcast how they like it, Spotify, all the way to iHeartRadio you'll be heard on, and things like that, and it's just crazy, man. It's like all I'm doing is inviting guests to come on and talk about their stories, share their stories of what they're doing, different organizations that we were doing. And I'm not doing anything else. I'm not an expert by any means. I'm just one guy who's curious about how why we're not talking about this subject more. And as this continues to go, it just keeps great momentum. Now I'm adding like 6 p.m. special slots for certain people to come on. And I get all different kinds of aspects. I get regular average Joe people. I get rock stars. I get authors. I get podcast hosts. and they're all talking about different things and sharing the same message that we need to talk about this more. Excuse me, sorry. I've had a girl, the lead singer Hunter, she has 635,000 downloads. Okay, that's like over 500,000 downloads, and she's coming on this show and talking to me and telling me that she deals with her own mental struggles, which it proves that everybody deals with something like that. She deals with BPD, which is the borderline personality disorder, and it was crazy to hear her say, because if you just look at her socials and things like that, you'd never know. You'd have no idea this is what this woman deals with on a daily basis. But for her to come on here and just start sharing about it, and she was so excited too. And I was just sitting there looking at this woman, like, dude, wow, she's got 500,000 downloads, and she's talking to me, and I'm still taken back, but she's so cool though too. And she's like, I'm just an average person. I'm like, not to everybody else. You got to think about it. When you have 500,000 downloads, let me tell you, people are looking at you from a different light. But she was so cool to talk to because you got her perspective on what she saw, and then she revealed that. And I was like, whoa, hold on, we just took it to 0 to 1,000 now, man. And just like you just started sharing things, and I was like, holy crap, I didn't, and the great thing about the show is that I don't know anything that y'all are going to talk about most of the time. When you guys start sharing your personal stories, I had no idea you were going to come out and say what you just said here not so long ago, and I was just like, damn.
Neither did I.
I appreciate it though, because it's the genuine feel that real people are sharing this story. I could sit here and talk for an hour every week, and it's different when it's coming from more people. And like I tell people, United we stand, man. We all hear that United we stand, but we do really think about it, because when one more voices start talking, it's like, one person hears your story and then tells 5 other people. It's like the word of mouth just gets out there, and people are just talking about it and things like that. I've got random people I've never met on the internet coming up to me going, hey, Pete, I appreciate what you're doing. And there's even people that I've never even heard. These authors I've talked to, best-selling authors, are like, hey, I've heard the show before. I'm like, what? You've heard my show before? I'm like, get out of here. She's like, one woman said she was so excited to talk to me. And she's a 3-time Amazon bestseller. It was like, yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you. I'm like, someone pinched me. She's talking to me. Is she talking to me over here? I'm just like so dumbfounded. But there is.
I love the humility. I appreciate, and you're a facilitator, man. You're facilitating conversations. And one of the things that I always think of, that aphorism, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. We need to be able to share these things from different voices and different perspectives in different ways, because we don't always know what it's going to take for it to land on somebody's heart and actually make that difference. So I'm honored to have the opportunity. I'm glad that we took the time and actually persisted. And the 6 months or however long it was that we've been talking about
it takes
making
time.
this work, everything happens in divine, perfect timing.
Yeah.
And I'm really honored to be here. And I hope that something that we've shared today has landed on somebody's heart and actually makes a difference for somebody's life.
It will, man. I've got to reach on pretty much everything. I got people from TikTok, X, Facebook, the Oracle Talk Radio Network sites and things like that. There's just people all around the world see this thing. And it's like, it's crazy when people come to me and say, well, I've seen your show, or like random people I've never met are on the internet talking about, oh, I appreciate what you're doing. And these are people that are more successful than I would ever have been, 13 years in this thing. And they're like, Pete, I appreciate what you're doing. And all I'm doing is letting people talk. I said, I'm talking to people, having a conversation, and nobody seems to want to have the conversation about. And, and the one author, she said that Lindsay Davis had told me, she goes, well, I'm thank you, Pete. She said, you're a male talking about these things. And she said, it's so unusual for a male to discuss these problems and have these conversations, that she said, I'm very impressed that you're able to talk about these things, because, most men don't talk about their feelings. And I was like, yeah, that's the scary part. Because I had another podcast before this. It was just a general one called Pete's Corner Store. And I was just messing around in the beginning. It was just me, season 1. Season 1 went off the chain. I was surprised. People didn't want to hear anything I had to say. I was telling wild stories about where I worked. Season 2, I brought in a co-host. And it was going okay, but as you add more mix to the pot, usually not a great idea. It just became a very toxic relationship between us, because they wanted to have a real terrible. They kept getting a little too extreme with conversation wise. Okay. Like we were talking about, like her talking about, I've adopted a 15-year-old Asian kid on the 4-day server. I'm like, do you listen to what you're saying right now? Like, think about what you're saying. You're telling people that you've adopted a random kid on a game site somewhere in Asia, and he's 15. That's just what?
Weird.
You know what I'm saying? But saying like that, it's just insane.
One of the things that I talk about when I'm especially today talking to kids, is that no amount of external validation will ever compensate for our internal dialogue.
Yeah.
No amount of likes or follows or subscribers on Twitch or TikTok or Instagram will ever compensate and silence that internal dialogues. We have to develop an internal sense of who we are. We have to develop an internal appreciation for who we are, who we can be. Because if all of our value is placed in social validation, whether it's the job that we have, the spouse that we get, or likes on Instagram or Facebook, as soon as one of those goes away, then we're going to be sitting on the edge of that precipice thinking about deleting again. So it's really important to cultivate some sense and semblance of an appreciation for who we are or who we can become and the value that we can bring to the world. And that's a trick. That's a challenge to find that thing that we know that actually makes a difference in the world. And I appreciate what you're doing with Pete versus Anxiety and having these conversations, because they're really valuable. And I'm sure that there's somebody out there that knows somebody that's struggling or is themselves struggling right now. And hopefully we've brought a little light and a little optimism about how tomorrow can be better than today, and what exactly that road might look like to get there.
Not only do we that, we speak from experience. Like, we've been there, we know what you're thinking. You're not alone, and they can unite in that alone. Just understand that, hey, Pete and Brian have been there. They know what I've been going through. It's not like we're just two people just randomly talking about different things.
I still think about it probably once a week, honestly. Yeah. I'll wake up exhausted, 3 hours of sleep or something like that, or something will happen in my life that I'm having a difficult time navigating the challenge, whether it's, an issue with a tenant or an issue with my relationship or whatever. Probably about once a week, that idea still comes to my mind that, this will be an easy way out. I can end all this right now. And again, trying to swing the lever back to the other side, knowing that what I'm doing actually is going to make a difference, is really important. Is it possible that I can plug the A.W.E Kids program?
Go ahead, definitely. I was about to ask you, because we're getting ready to wrap up here soon. I was about to ask you, what do you want to plug there? Go for it, my man.
I'm really excited about this. Again, we've known for millennia that there are tools out there that are available, and we've done randomized double-blind placebo studies to know the efficacy, and that these things can make a difference. And we're not teaching these tools to kids. So intentional breathing, intentional stretching, and intentional energy. What we've done is we have completely removed any religious or spiritual connotation to meditation, Tai Chi, and yoga, and are just teaching the actual activity, the exercise itself. And we have created a video program, because we know that if our dream is to get this for every student in every grade in every school across the country to start their day with a 10 to 15 minute practice of this, the teachers can't learn all this stuff because they're trying to put 5 pounds of crap into a 1 pound sack already. The teachers' cups are overflowing. So we can't expect them to learn how to do it. We've created a video program where all they have to do is push play on the iPad, and these cartoon characters will lead these kids through these 10-minute exercises, again, to help press that pressure release valve and get rid of some of the stress and the anxiety that they're dealing with, some of the pressure before it becomes catastrophic. So I encourage you again to go to www.aworldempowered.com. Check out the A.W.E Kids program. We are going to be running a beta test on this. The app is in development right now. Hopefully within the next week or two, that'll be complete. And we're going to have a beta test group of 150 to 200 kids try this out for 60 days. That way we can take their testimonials and their results and how they've felt during this program, and we can go to the schools and say, this is an evidence-informed program. These are the testimonials of their parents. These are what they've said, the kids have said about this program, and this is what it's done for their lives. How do we get every kid in every grade, in every kindergarten at least, to start their day with this? So the first program will be specifically for kindergartners, because they don't know any different, right? They go to their first day of school and they're like, oh, the teacher has us do this thing, this exercise, and it's fun. So I'm really excited about it. And when I look out into the world, man, I can picture the world 20 years from now where, everybody that's out there has practiced 10 to 15 minutes a day of these exercises. And now they're the ones that are getting jobs, starting businesses, or entering politics or whatever. And they're all grounded. They have a better sense of compassion. They know how to deregulate and get out of their sympathetic nervous system. They know what it feels like to have cortisol coursing through their body and how to get rid of it, and how to feel like they're a part of something bigger than themselves, and what unconditional love can actually be. And I'm really excited about what this can do for the world, not just for addiction, suicide, and school violence, but for humanity as a whole.
I'm excited too, man. Keep me posted though. Let me know when you get it going, because I'll definitely make a shout out here on the show for you to let them know it's live when you finally get it all ready to go, because that's so cool, man. I think that's going to be a great idea. We have to start with the youth, because we start them young, like you said, when it gets time for them to start making decisions, to do career choices, things like that. They'll be more grounded, more leveled. They have a better sense of their own emotions and things like that. I think it's a great idea, man. I think what you're about to do is to change everything.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I remember a quote that said, we can either child-proof the world or we can world-proof our children. And I think that's what we're trying to do. And I'm trying to plant seeds under which shade trees I'll never sit. So thank you so much for this time and this opportunity, Pete. I hope that we're following each other on Facebook and all the socials. I'll make sure to get out there and follow.
When we get off here, we'll make sure I check through. I'll make sure I got them all followed and anything. I think I am following you on everything, but I'll double check and see really quick.
Likewise.
Definitely, because I definitely want to keep in touch and see how this thing goes, because I'm curious. I want to see it happen, because I know that one of my guests prior, David, he said he was pushing for his son who's autistic. He was trying to go to the schools and trying to help his son, because he said what you're doing isn't working, but this is working. And he tried to tell him about it, and they were very resistant. So I expect they're going to push back on it, but I don't see why, if it's beneficial to the kids at the end of the day. And things like that. And that's the craziest part, is that if we're educating these kids, we might as well give them every tool possible to have the better future than we did, and we learn from our own mistakes, like things that are happening now that you're trying to make a difference. I'm making a difference, and things like that. We're trying to change how the future outcome looks versus letting it just continue to go the same way it's going.
And we got to help our teachers, man. Like I said, they're stressed out. Their cups are overflowing. They're trying to cram 5 pounds of crap into a 1 pound sack. We expect that these kids get off the school bus or hop out of mom and dad's car, and that first period bell rings, and that the kids should sit down and be calm and ready to learn. And these teachers are stressed the heck out. If we can find a way to, calm the kids down, get them centered and grounded and regulated, and give these teachers a chance to take a breath and have a classroom full of kids that are actually excited to be there and excited to learn, it's going to help everybody involved. So from the kids, the suicide, the addiction, the violence, to the teachers and the stress, and helping actually educate kids. They've actually done randomized double-blind placebo studies, and our memory retention actually grows with just a 5 to 10 minute daily practice of intentional breathing, or what we know as meditation. We actually remember things more. So it's a win-win-win for everybody involved. And I'm really excited about what we're doing, and excited about the opportunity to be here with you.
Definitely, man. I appreciate it, Brian. I really do. Did you want to plug any more socials before we close out the episode?
And we're on A World Empowered on Facebook and Instagram. I'm not much of a social media guy, so follow me on Facebook and Instagram. You can reach out to me in person, Brian Dicicco, and that's in the show notes here. So yeah, that's about it.
All right, guys. Well, you know where to find me. I'm pretty much everything: TikTok, X, Instagram, all those other social sites. Brian's like, I can't take handling all at once. Sorry, man. But anyways, Brian, I really do appreciate it coming, man. I'm excited to see the future, how this thing shapes out, man. I'll definitely make sure we're following each other, because I definitely want to be in update and everything, so I can announce everybody when it's live and ready to go, and keep giving everybody an update on how it goes. And when you finally get it going, we'll have to definitely have you come back and tell us how it's going and things like that. You can tell us how the story went and how it went with going with the schools and things. So I'm curious to see if you get pushback in the beginning for this thing.
I'm sure I will, but again, it's a dream and a vision. Every kid in every grade in every school across the country. If I aim for the stars and land on the moon, I'll be happy enough. So we're making a difference, and we're getting it out there. So thank you so much.
Not a problem. And guys, this wraps up another episode of Pete vs. Anxiety, the mental health podcast, breaking the stigma that mental health is talked about. Brian, yet again, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate having you. We definitely look forward to you coming back and telling us more about how everything is going, guys. All right, guys. And as I always say, it costs nothing, absolutely nothing to be kind to somebody. Remember, one kind act you can do can save someone's day, or hell, you can even save their life. I'm Pete vs. Anxiety saying, don't ask how your day's going. Ask how your mental health is today.